Hello, Johnny.
Hello.
Isn't it fun to be back?
Sorta.
Last time we talked about field service and how some people would do interesting tactics to win at field service. That's one way to put it. What was your first attempt at field service like?
It was the most nerve-wracking thing ever because it felt so unnatural to go up to someone's door and talk to them about something that I didn't believe in.
So you didn't believe from the very get-go?
I wanted to make my family proud, so I did it, and I had a script in my head, and it was practiced. And some people, they just kind of took it, and other people would slam the door. Some of them would ignore my dad, who was standing next to me, and then other people would listen to me, but only because they were being nice. They knew I was just a kid and I didn't know what I was doing. They were being polite and trying to, yeah.
So your first goes were with your father?
I do believe so. I mean, it was a long time ago, but I believe they put him at the door with me at first, just so I felt more comfortable. And now looking back, I'm curious to know if they just used a kid to lure people in. Seems a little odd to me. Could just be me. I don't know.
Do they teach you anything before going to your first field service?
Yes, that I would knock on the door once, or I'd ring the doorbell once, and then if nobody came to the door, then I would knock on the door once, and then if nobody came, I would put a tract in the door. It said something to the lines of, what would you like to know how it feels like to live forever? And you just kind of slip it in the door, and you had your speech. If someone answered the door, I would crumble. I'd immediately start with my speech. But I think a lot of the people knew that I spoke to that they were setting me up for it. They were setting me up to draw them in, because who's going to be mean to a kid? And not a lot of people were, but a lot of people, I could tell, were angry at whoever I was at the door with and not at me, which I'm kind of thankful for.
Were you the one to start the interactions?
Yeah, no, if it was my turn to knock, it was my turn to knock.
What does that mean, your turn to knock?
You take turns. It goes door for door. It's like playing Nintendo. You go door. A person answers. Oh, okay, weren't interested. Door, next guy. Like the person you're going door to door with. You take turns. Next door. Until you find someone, then it gets put on you, and you're like, oh, why me?
So at some point you start to find humor in it?
Now looking back, as a kid, you look at those kinds of things as all video games, and wish I was home playing Mario 3. But instead I'm going door to door. I don't know, that's how I viewed it.
So your first times were with your father. You eventually end up with a different partner?
Yes. Eventually, after, I don't even know, a certain age, or you have a bunch of experience, you end up going door to door with, like, an elder or something to that effect. They'd only send two sisters, meaning two females, to each home, as long as the males could see where they were and they were in plain distance. And it was always two males and it was always two females going door to door, because if it's a male and female couple, it seems odd to people. you're going to get less of a response from someone if you're going door to door saying, "Have you heard about and you look like a perfect couple?" They always send 2 males or 2 females. It's a crazy math equation that they do.
Why do you think they find a male-female couple at the door to be strange or off-putting?
All other people outside of that organization? I mean, I could ask you the same question. If 2 people showed up at your door and it was 2 females, wouldn't you be more compelled to be responsive and listening and not rude? Or 2 males show up and you're more responsive. But if it's a male-female couple that looks like the perfect happy couple, a lot more people are more get off my property.
So you believe it's an advertising scheme?
Back down to, oh yeah, all of the manipulation that they like to do.
Were you ever partnered with a female?
Yeah. I was. I often was paired with them because I was baptized youngest, which is messed up because a lot of the females knew more than me. I'm like a 12-year-old kid going door to door. Here's a female that's 43 that has chosen to be in this organization, and they know a lot more, yet I'm in control because I'm baptized and I'm the male. I know nothing. But I did learn a lot about a lot of the females that I went door to door with. They told me a lot of things about their personal life, and some of them were very fake and only talked about the organization, and a lot of the other ones would be they'd ask me a lot of questions about my personal life and wanted to know what it was like to be me. So some of them became friends, and then some of them became not friends in my own head.
Who stuck with you the most?
It would have to be my... I don't want to use her name because she was so sweet. One of the sweetest people that I've ever met. Her name is Marguerite. And she was here in America being a Jehovah's Witness, going door to door. She had 2 great kids. One of the kids' name was Jacques. And then she had her daughter. They were wonderful people. I actually really liked them a lot. And she asked me why I was there and did I want to be there. And she actually set me up to go to her and her kids. Like, what was her daughter's name? Audrey. Wonderful people to me all the time. She set up for me to go there after school because she saw something lacking, I think, in my life. So I would take the school bus home and go to their house. And I had so much fun at their house. She had a little bird. She called it her pew-pew bird. And they had like a very nice home environment. And it was something I hadn't been shown in a long time. I think maybe that's why they did it. I also don't know if it was because she wanted to also fit in with the congregation not being from this area. Because her husband was a non-believer, and he apparently wasn't happy that she stayed being a Jehovah's Witness. And I'm really sorry if you watch this one day because you guys are really nice.
How does that work where her husband is not participating, but she is?
It was unspoken, and it was, she's a strong woman for standing her beliefs in that religion. And she must be really strong for continuing to do the things that she does, even though her husband is a disbeliever. Really, the husband's trying to tell them, you all, this is my family, you deserve better, why are you part of this? He had enough of it, and that was their family dynamic. I never saw him once for an hour. He seemed not happy. It could have been because I was there and I was just another random Jehovah's Witness kid, but she really did have one of the biggest hearts. I felt bad.
How often did you find yourself over there?
Probably twice a week. Yeah, it was fun me and the son got along. Me and the daughter were in the same grade. She was in the orchestra with me, and the son played this game Myst, and he totally whipped my butt at it. I was so mad. He beat it way faster than me. I was so mad. But I got along with him. I definitely played, I think it was Super Nintendo Yoshi there for the first time. I liked them.
Were there ever any hostile moments going door to door?
People would scream and yell, but they never yelled at me. They only yelled at the older person that I was with. Hostile. People could scream, but they never threw anything. They just yelled to get off their property and to, you're in a cult, and they would yell stuff at me. But I was already pre-trained to know that what they were saying to me isn't something that I should pay attention to. Even though when they were being hostile, they were trying to tell me, this isn't okay, what you're doing. You don't want to be doing this. That's how people have reacted sometimes. It wasn't very often. A lot of times people were cordial. And yeah, I've had weird situations, but definitely more weird situations than hostile.
For instance?
Oh, you want to... weird situations. Well, I got partnered with a guy who had been to prison because they were preaching to him while he was in prison, and then he got out of prison. And I was very happy to be put with him in this one circumstance, even though he was really funny anyways. He and I went to, the side of the street that we were supposed to go to, and went to this door, and this guy opens the door, and he was, it's still me, 14 at this point, and I'm like, oh, hi. I'm like, do you want to learn about, and like, have you heard about God? And the guy just looks at me, and I thought he was paying attention. And he said, well, yeah, I'd like to learn more about that. You guys come inside. And immediately the guy that I was with, the partner that was in prison, he was like, no. And he because I was ready to walk in. So he puts his arm on me and he's like, I think we're okay. We'll come back with more information. And because that guy had world knowledge as to how people really were, he, in his own way, stopped me probably from getting hurt. Because if I was with anybody else and they wanted to go inside, who knows what would have happened in there? And I'll never forget the look on that guy's face who answered the door. Not just everyone with big Coke bottle glasses, but that's him, sweaty, just looking at me in this weird kind of way. But I thought he was interested. I look back often and I'm like, thank God that guy was with me.
Did the two of you talk about it much as you left?
Nope. No.
What was the next stop on that day?
I believe we went to coffee break. It's a school thing that the person that's in charge is supposed to, the oldest elder, I believe, that is out on field service that day, usually, doesn't mean they're going to, never expect it is what they teach you. He buys you whatever you want at a Dunkin' Donuts or some kind of bagel place, or you just order food and that's a reward. They give you rewards for going door to door. My favorite part about going door to door is coffee break. Who doesn't like bagels?
What sort of advice would other JW leaders give you for conducting field service?
They told me that I need to be more prepared to be the only baptized male, because if you're the only baptized male that is there, even though there's other males or females, they call them sisters and brothers, you have to say this prayer before you go out, and it needs to be heartfelt, and that Jehovah's going to protect you, and I just had one generic one that I came up on my own, and I just said it just to cover the blanket of just, because I don't want to deal with that. I was there to do the right thing, and now I have all these responsibilities that I don't want. I'm in control of what 14 to 18 people, a group of people that are going door to door, and now I'm in control and I have to give a prayer before we all go out. What if someone gets dead and it's my fault? I'm just gonna I had a generic one. I just said it and they hate it, and they told me that I need to be more prepared. And I said, how can I be more prepared than that? And they didn't like that, so they said I had to be more genuine in my prayers. But how do you be genuine if you don't really believe what you're praying for?
What were your experiences like with doctors prior to becoming a Jehovah's Witness?
Doctors?
Yes, you said that there are some oddities with going to the doctor or certain practices in medical science that are not okay with Jehovah's Witness faith. I'm curious about what your experiences were like with doctors prior to becoming a Jehovah's Witness, and then some comparison to how it was after becoming one.
I never really had to deal with that, only because I went to a pediatrician because I was so young, until the point where I got kicked out at 17 to then being on my own. So I never really had a doctor that kind of knew about it until I sought out help for what I had been through. So prior to being a Jehovah's Witness, it was just the same doctor. I luckily ended up in a bracket where I didn't have to deal with that.
As a family, what do you remember about your first home?
My first home. As a family, everyone together in one home. That probably would have been in Arlington. Well, one time my dad was really funny. And he had a bunch of leftover balloons from I don't even know what. But I just remember this part. He filled his robe with them. And his robe was like staticky. So it was like clinging to all of the balloons. And he was like, I'm a big boobed woman. And he was like walking around the house like a silly person. And it was just really funny to me. My sister's laughing. Everyone was laughing. And we lived below my grandparents at the time because we weren't yet Jehovah's Witnesses. So life was kind of a little bit more light and a little bit more nice, I guess.
You lived below your grandparents?
Yes. So my mom was in college. And my dad was working. And my grandparents were nice enough to set up, because the house they had was, I'm not sure if it's not called a duplex, it's called a something, where it's the same house on top as it is on the bottom. So it's like a 4-story, 5-story house, but it's set up the same, it's split in the middle. And yeah, we lived right underneath them, and if there was ever a problem or something, like you could go up and see your grandparents anytime you wanted, or hi, you wake up.
Were they your landlords?
Never felt like that. No. I think they paid for a lot.
Was that technically the truth?
That they paid for a lot?
That they were your landlords?
I think they did it out of their goodness of their hearts, because it never came up. I never remember arguing about money or anyone asking for money. It was more like, do the best that you can right now with what you have in your life. To my parents, from my grandparents, my mom's side, of course. They wanted to make sure that she and all of her kids were taken care of. They even pressed her to continue to go to school. Like I said, pretty outstanding people to try to make sure that she was okay.
There are a lot of things that being a Jehovah's Witness forbids you doing. For instance, premarital sex or smoking. Even drunkenness. Are you not allowed to drink as a Jehovah's Witness?
Yes, you are. You're allowed to drink as a Jehovah's Witness. which is very confusing to me. You can't have premarital sex. You can't do a lot of things. But you can drink. Because eat, drink, and be happy. Or merry is one of the scriptures. So they allow drinking. They never come down on anyone for being drunk, and they never come down on anyone for maybe smelling at a Kingdom Hall. They don't care about anyone being drunk, because that's probably the only way that you can get through a lot of the things that you have to do being a Jehovah's Witness. They don't care about that. Anything else? You smoke a cigarette? Gone. Premarital sex? Gone. Have a girl in the car? 16 years old? No chaperone? Reproved. Done. Have an alcohol? As long as you don't alter your mind to a point where I guess demons can get in, is okay.
What do they mean by demons getting in?
They say when you sneeze, that's why people say bless you, is because you are at a state of mental clarity. And when you're the most clear, they think that a demon can enter your body because you're not thinking about any of the other things. So if you use a mind-altering drug or alcohol to the point where you are just a little bit numb, you take the chance of letting a demon in to your brain, because they're always trying to enter your body left and right all the time. You're always fighting them, and you let down your guard for 1 second and you could let one in, and you never know it even happened.
So normal drinking, you're not susceptible to being a demon or allowing demons to come in?
Correct. If you just have a couple drinks, then you are okay.
Who determines how many drinks is the right amount?
I don't know. Who does? That's the problem. It's a conscience matter. Who makes the decisions? Who decides whether or not someone's good association or bad association? It's the same person. I think it's God. But don't tell them that, because in their eyes it's a bunch of other people.
Are there varying rules from Kingdom Hall to Kingdom Hall?
It depends what your last name is. If you move to a different Kingdom Hall and your family's in bad standing, it travels over to another Kingdom Hall. Like, have you heard about these people? Have you heard about those people? Have you heard about that people? Or if you come from a family that has the best last name ever, you get treated like royalty. Like you're the next ministerial servant or elder or presiding overseer. Who knows what that person's going to be, because they're I'm not going to say the last name, but who knows? It depends on the family standing in the organization and where they go. It's all kind of a popularity contest. You go to these big conventions full of people and they go, oh, you're a blah, blah, blah. You must know blah, blah, blah. Oh, nice to meet you. Meet my daughter. You guys should go on a date. Really, they have no clue who you are. Or they could go, oh, you, yeah. You're a, oh. You should go meet, we're having lunch, so.
Boys are given a lot of perks for being a Jehovah's Witness.
Too many? I would say. A lot of them shouldn't marry the females that they marry or get put into the relationships that they get put into, only because the girls have a limited amount of people that they can choose from. There's only so many males per Kingdom Hall that is okay that a female is associating with. So you get these pervy, nasty guys that these girls, a lot of the times, deserve so much better. But instead they're taught that they need to be with a Jehovah's Witness, and these are their options, and they get put with dirtbags. Literal dirtbags. When they could walk down the street, which they do, and could have any guy ever.
What makes them stay in the relationships they're in?
Because they think they're doing the right thing. They think it's part of the truth. They're following the truth. They're making their family happy. Mostly that, I think.
The truth teaches women to be submissive to their husbands. How do you think that made your sisters feel?
Well, my sisters are very ridiculously strong people, so I don't really think they cared. But it is upsetting because to a lot of the other people that are Jehovah's Witness females, that does happen more often than not. I feel like my sisters would probably look at them and be like, why are you being okay with this? But kind of after so much stuff is coming down on you all the time as a kid, relationship wise, you kind of cave and you just like, I'm going to settle for this. That's almost what can happen. Even though all of them deserve so much better. Someone that's not going to control them the way that they don't even know that they're being controlled by, just to make their family happy.
How much do you think people do in the Jehovah's Witness faith purely out of appeasement to others?
87%.
Who are the elders in the Jehovah's Witness faith?
There's a group of elders in every kingdom hall. So let's say there is one in every town. The elders are put in charge of that kingdom hall. There's roughly, I think, 4 to 6 elders per kingdom hall, depending upon how many Jehovah's Witnesses there are in that hall. It goes in a stacking place. It goes from baptized brother, sister, then you have ministerial servant, and then you have your elders, then you have your overseers, then you have your presiding overseers. So there's one for each different group of a map. And then that's the ladder of how it goes. So the elders are a step above the ministerial servants, and they are the ones that make the final rulings, whether if someone gets disfellowshipped or something to that effect. That is what they do. It's almost like the ministerial servants are training to be an elder, and that's what they learn from. But then you can't become a ministerial servant unless you are out in field service, going door to door, and you're a pioneer, and now you're doing 60 hours of field service a month, getting the door slammed in your face, having people telling you to get off their property because they're actually doing you a favor by telling you that. But they're not, because they don't understand that the person going to the door has no idea what they're doing.